Hey ArcheryTalk, this is Lucas, and today I thought I would do something a little bit different. I realize that the hunting bow speed test is probably the most important video for a lot of you viewers out there, but for me, speed is not generally the top of mind when picking a hunting bow. I'm all about draw cycle. That's probably my favorite of the categories I use to decide my bow of the year, and there's about a half dozen of them. And so I thought this year I would do a separate video just on draw cycles of the different hunting bows I've got in for testing. And so let's see how that goes. Hopefully it works out for you guys and for me, and we're gonna start with my favorite. So as mentioned, I'm starting with my favorite, and for me this year, this is the newest bow that just came in for me, is the PSE Evo NXT 33, and I'll try to describe that to you as I'm drawing the bow back. The main reason this one wins is it just doesn't feel like I'm drawing a 70-pound bow. I would not say it has exactly the smoothest of the draw cycles. There are a few others this year that are they're probably a little more linear. Not that this one is bad, it's just it feels so light. I draw back slow, it's easy, I can shoot this bow all day long, and of course it's got the benefit of the movable draw stop. So right now I've got this one set with 80%, but you can move it out to 85 or even 90. I don't really love shooting it at 90. It's feels a little too loose for me, but at 80 I'm really liking how this thing feels, and it's just dead easy to draw. So that for me makes it the number one of my favorite draw cycle of the year. So second place for me this year is the Hoyt Axius Alpha. And similar to the PSE, I like this bow a lot because it feels like a slightly lighter poundage than the other bows I've tested. It's got a slight dip into the valley, not bad really at all, but it's super easy to hold at full draw. It doesn't have movable draw stops, which I would prefer it have, but it's a very easy bow to draw and very easy bow to let down. This is the kind of bow I wouldn't mind having if I was stuck in a tree stand all day when I'm super cold. And sometimes you got to let down your shot if it's not there and still do it quietly. This is easier than that. This is much easier than a lot of speed bows out there. And the draw cycle itself is just, it's easy to shoot. And again, I'm all for bows that are going to be easy to draw, especially when I'm sitting still for hours on end on a cold fall morning waiting for a deer to walk by. I want to be able to draw the bow easily and comfortably. Just like I want to be able to practice comfortably as long as I want to, without having to worry about getting tired from an aggressive draw cycle. So for that reason, the Hoyt Axius Alpha gets number 2. Number 3 for me this year is the Bowtech Revolt in the comfort setting specifically. I actually don't love shooting this bow in performance mode, but in comfort, it's really a delight to shoot over and over again. Feels maybe a touch heavier than the other bows. I'm not quite the hump. There's the last little bit of the draw. But again, very easy to hold at full draw. This one's 80% let off. Unlike the Reckoning series of Bowtech target bows, there is no movable draw stops on this, which is something I do prefer whenever possible. I'm not sure why they didn't include that on the Revolt, but it's a bow that's very easy to draw, again, time and time again. It's worth it. The speed penalty that I'm gonna have for the comfort setting is worth it for not having for not shooting the performance mode, which just feels a little too aggressive. It's got a much bigger dump into the valley. You can still feel a slight dump in this one, but again, it's a very light draw, light feeling draw. And again, a bow I'm happy to shoot all day, and again, in those cold morning tree stand or ground blinds. Up next for me this year is the Mathews VXR. Mathews sent me both the 28 and the 31.5. I'm just going to include the 1 because the draw cycles are, as you might expect, shockingly similar. And so here's the 28, which is kind of my favorite of the 2 in general. And like every Mathews I've had for the past few years, the draw cycle is incredibly linear and basically no dump at all into the valley. It's got a nice deep valley, so you can hold for a long time. And it's a nice bow to shoot. It's a little stiffer than the others, is the only reason this didn't rank higher. And if pure smoothness in your draw cycle is worth more to you, then you could comfortably bump this up to number 1, and I wouldn't offer you any argument against it. It feels just a touch stiffer to me than some of the others, but I do like how smooth it is. So this is not the kind of a bow that you'd shoot that you'd worry your arrow's going to bounce around because it's got a big hump into the valley or anything like that. It's dead smooth to shoot. Just a little bit stiffer. In the number 5 spot for me this year is going to be the Prime Black 3. I will say flat out, it's my favorite looking bow of the year. I love this grizzly brown color. And it's not a bad draw cycle by any means. In fact, there's some bows I had last year which were more considered speed bows, this is so much better than. The bows this year are all very similar in speed, so the draw cycles are relatively close. It just feels a little heavier than some, especially this last quarter of it. Some of the bows kind of really ease off that last little bit. The Black 3 picks up a little bit there. It does have a couple of benefits that most of the other bows in this competition don't have, which is those movable draw stops. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but for me that is a top priority for these kind of bows, because I can set the amount of holding weight I want to have, the size of the valley I want to have, by moving those draw stops in and out. It used to be in the prime bows you had both limb and cable stops. It's just cable stops this year because I think they couldn't fit on both of those with the rotating draw length module. But as it stands right now, the Prime Black 3 feels great. It's just a little bit stiffer and a little tougher to let down than some of the other bows. It might not be the ideal choice among this group, again, on one of those cold mornings, but so much better than some of the pure speed bows I've tested for the past few years. This could rank in the top 3 in many other prior years I've shot. But I think that's about it for now, Archery Talk. Again, these are all good high-level flagship target bows, and none of them are exactly what you call nasty draw cycles compared to a few others I've shot in prior years. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion. Yours may differ depending on what you're looking for in a draw cycle, but I hope you at least found something useful in this. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel an awful lot, and we'll see you again soon.